I'm Sean from Offload, Rugby Media.
This is Simeon, also known as the TikTok Ref.
Hi guys, I'm Murray, also known as Blissful Rugby HQ,
and welcome to Season 2
of the Rugby
Connection
podcast.
Hope you're ready for it.
For the fans.
By the fans.
Hello and welcome to Interview Thursday. This week's guest needs no introduction, but she definitely deserves one. 2018 Commonwealth gold medalist, 2018 Sevens Women's Rugby World Cup winner, former Women's Sevens Player of the Year, and just to top it off, she's won the Olympics in 2020 in Tokyo. It's Michaela Blyde. Michaela, thank you for coming on the show. How are we getting on?
Thanks for having me, guys. Yeah, I'm good. I'm currently on leave here in New Zealand on holiday. So I'm not doing any training and I'm relaxing with my friends and my family and my partner and my dog. So I'm having an absolute blast. Obviously completely different times at the moment with COVID. So we're just having to adapt to that. But nonetheless, I'm enjoying the quality time with family while being on holiday.
Yeah, absolutely. Family's always important, regardless of what it is we all do for a living. But I mean, thank you for coming on. Massive congratulations on winning the Olympics. And you are our first guest from New Zealand, our first Sevens player, and our first professional female guest as well. So there you go.
Tick, tick, tick. I'm very, very honoured. No, that's really cool to hear. Obviously, it can widen your range of guests that you have on your podcast. So I'm very honoured to be all of those firsts for you guys. And I guess, maybe like another first here.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
Love that for the YouTube.
There she is.
There you go.
So she's real, I promise. It did actually happen. So here's the proof.
Is it as beautiful as it looks in real life?
Oh yeah. Absolutely. And it's I think it's about 750 grams. So
It's quite
a
weighty.
block and a bit of butter, if you want to think of it like that. And it's made out of old cell phones and then gold plated. So it's obviously borderline green because classic Japan helping the planet. It is very gorgeous, and it usually sits not far away from my bed while I sleep.
That's the
I
place.
would sleep with that around my neck. I wouldn't take that. I'd walk around the supermarket with that on.
When we first received them, we actually had to wear them for maybe at least 2 hours straight, just obviously with photos and interviews and whatnot after our game. And we all had neck rashes afterwards because it's that heavy around your neck. But yeah, that whole night I was wearing it. I wore it to bed. The next day I wore it to the airport, wore it on the plane home back to New Zealand because we had to leave Tokyo the next morning after our final. So I was wearing it around my neck on the plane. I've had a few waters with it around my neck. It's definitely gone through some adventures already. But yeah, I'm so proud of it and can't wait to show it off to so many more people because we haven't really been able to do that with lockdown here in New Zealand. So once things get lifted a little bit here in New Zealand, we can venture out a little bit more and go to more schools and events and kind of show that women can be gold medalists at the Olympic Games.
Absolutely. We'll just get you right into it with the first question. What actually got you into rugby, Michaela?
Rugby was my first sport at the age of 5 at our local rugby club called Clifton. And my mum and dad played rugby. My mum was a Black Fern. My dad played for club premiers A's, Taranaki age group stuff back here in New Zealand. And then I also have 3 brothers. So eventually I kind of had to give rugby a go, having to grow up with 3 boys. So, went to Clifton, played for a few years, but then I had to go to the next grade of tackle. I was about 2 foot, 3 foot high, not very big at all, and playing tackle against boys was just extremely scary in my world. So I went and played soccer. I played soccer for about 11 years before I took rugby back up again in 2012. So I was 16 and year 12, so what is it called here? 6th form. and went and played for my high school. Not long after signing up for my high school was when the Go for Gold campaign for Women Sevens started. And so the New Zealand Rugby Union were going around the country scouting out any girls who, of any age, any sporting experience, any rugby experience, who wanted to give sevens a go. And so I thought, okay, might as well give it a crack. It's a new sport. Went to the trial in Taranaki, and from there I got selected. So I've been a part of the squad since day one, since it all began in 2012. And just went to a few camps, a few tournaments here and there, and kept getting selected. Won some trophies and some medals along the way.
Fantastic. That's a bit modest. You've essentially completed rugby sevens in like 8 years, in the space of 8 years.
It's taken a long time, but I eventually got there because I obviously missed out on the 2016 Olympic Games. I was a travelling reserve there. So I had the biggest motivation and fire in my belly to make these Tokyo Olympics. So it did take a little bit, but I got there eventually.
Well, it was all worth it in the end. Sean, do you have a question for Michaela?
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, Michaela, what is your favourite part of rugby, both on the pitch and off the pitch?
Off the pitch, it's definitely the connections that you make with your teammates, with other teams around the country, around the world, obviously traveling the world, just the opportunities that women rugby has given us is just immense. It's been amazing, and the development of our game in the last 9 years has been unbelievable. We went from a team who struggled to find women's fit jerseys to being full-time paid professionals. So it's been a crazy journey, but we finally got that recognition, I guess, and that respect from the New Zealand Rugby Union that we can be a professional rugby team, and the first women's professional rugby team, because the Black Ferns 15s still got a long way to go. They're semi-professional, but they've only been semi-professional for a few years. To begin that legacy and to hold that legacy here in New Zealand is something that we're really proud of. On the field, probably scoring tries. I mean, that's part of my job. So I'm obviously being a winger, I have to be the speedster on the sideline that has to run around people and put some points on the scoreboard. So that's probably one of the fun parts. And the other thing I love doing, I don't know what it is, probably a bit of the adrenaline, but chasing people down and getting turnovers or stopping them from scoring. I guess that's also part of my job. Being a winger, we're kind of in sevens, you could say, we're sort of like another fullback. So we've got to obviously have that role of chasing any kicks down, or if anyone's broken the line, we're that first person or that second person if the sweeper is in the line to make that tackle. So that's also something that I quite enjoy doing. If it's a long range chase, so like over 60 meters and I make a tackle, I'm usually looking at the sideline straight away like, coach, I'm tired, I'm done. So there is some up and downs about that role, but it's definitely very rewarding when you help your team out like that.
Okay, yeah. I suppose you can never score enough tries anyway.
No, probably not. But I definitely get teased every now and then for being a bull hog. But I mean, if we win, it's a good thing, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Definitely. So my question is, who's the opposition you find hardest to play against, and what player, either from that team or a different team, do you find hardest to play against?
I have a few. So in the USA Sevens team, there's a winger called Naya Tapa, and her speed compared to mine is similar, but she's much stronger than me, you could say. She's got much longer limbs. She's much taller than me. So when it comes to tackling her, she's very powerful and has an incredibly good fend, massive leg drive. So she's one of the hardest people to stop on the rugby field. So we have some really good battles when we come up against each other. So I guess on top of that, USA would definitely be one of the hardest teams that we play against, just because they're a team of athletes rather than a team of rugby players. So they come from all completely different sports. You've got some ice hockey players, You got some NFL, I think it's called, or American football. You've got soccer players, so they're fit. So rugby's obviously not massive in America. So they've all just given sevens a go and they've suddenly become really good. So their skill set isn't obviously to our standard, but they're just extremely powerful, strong athletes that are very, very hard to stop. So you can't give them too much space, otherwise they're away. So they're definitely very, very difficult to play against. And then I guess if you can say, going off the Olympics, Fiji was one of our hardest games by far. We play against them multiple times in World Series tournaments, usually in quarters or semis. 9 times out of 10, it's in quarters. But yeah, they were just a completely different team at the Olympic Games. They just lifted everything up another 10%, whether it was in their ball contact carrying, their tackling, their game plan, their offloading. Like, that's just, they're a very, very hard team to stop when they've got a little bit of momentum. So yeah, they're definitely a hard team to play as well. But every team on the World Series has their strengths that can make things a little bit more difficult. So obviously offloading for Fiji and France. You've got the speed and the ball skill set of Australia. You've obviously got also the fitness of Canada. So yeah, every team has their strengths and we've just got to somehow adapt to what they do against us.
Hi, Grant, thank you.
I've got a question for you. So it's kind of fresh in the memory. It's just kind of gone out yesterday or yesterday evening for you, considering time difference. What are your initial thoughts of Super Rugby Alpiki, and will you be involved at all? Or
yeah, incredible news. It's been a long time coming, but to finally have a women's 15s comp of that standard here in New Zealand is about time. You look at obviously the competition you have in the UK. So we want to obviously get to that standard here in New Zealand. Hopefully it is to the standard that we are promoting. Obviously there's a massive difference still here in men's and women's 15s here in New Zealand. But I mean, when you've got a team like the All Blacks that are just taking over the world, it can be a little bit more difficult to kind of catch up to. But nonetheless, we obviously have the talent here in New Zealand to produce some incredible rugby of Super Rugby standard here. So yeah, very excited for that. I won't be involved in it just because next year my absolute focus is Commonwealth Games and the World Cup. So obviously Com Games is in Birmingham, I think, and the Sevens World Cup is in Cape Town. So yeah, those two are my absolute priorities. 15s for me, I might kind of pick up later on in my career, but I'm just, at the moment, I'm loving my sevens. I'm loyal to the program just because sevens has just done so much for me in my life. It's put a roof over my head. It's helped me provide for my family. I've traveled the world and had some incredible experiences in my lifetime and met some amazing people. So I'd like to stay loyal to that program just for a few more years until at least Paris 2024. And then after that, definitely do some reassessing, reviewing on where my body is at, and then might give 15s a go after that. But I haven't played enough to say that I'm an experienced 15s player. So yeah, I definitely need to get a couple seasons under my belt first before I can sort of consider myself into that level of 15s here in New Zealand.
that's fair enough. I like that though, that you've considered it, but you're focused on the sevens. And as you mentioned, Commonwealth Games is in Birmingham next year. We might get to travel down and we could actually see you in action and actually meet you in person. Maybe there's a little personal goal, perhaps.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, hopefully COVID kind of starts to maybe disappear a little bit, and things can kind of be lifted and we can have a bit of a party. But yeah, obviously we're just staying positive and all we can do is just train hard here in New Zealand, just hope for the best. I was actually meant to play 15s last year for my region here in Bay of Plenty, but in the week leading up to our first game, I broke my jaw, so I missed the whole season. So clearly 15s is not my thing yet because I get injured all the time. I need to kind of bulk up a little bit more, I think. But yeah, maybe after the Olympics we'll give it another crack.
Never say never. I like that. Sean, you got another question for Michaela?
Yeah, Michaela, do you have a favorite stage on the World Series or just a favorite rugby city in general?
Well, I have to be biased and say that my favorite is Hamilton. We had our first World Series home tournament. Oh my God, it was last year in January, February. That seems not that long ago, but it was a very long time ago now that you think about it. But yeah, that was our last World Series tournament. Well, back to back, it was with Sydney a week later. But yeah, Hamilton was just incredible to finally have a home sevens tournament after 8 years of World Series tournaments, and to finally be able to hold something for our family and friends here at home was just incredible. We absolutely loved it. And obviously we came away with the win as well. So that was just, the cherry on top of the cake. So that was an incredible experience being able to play at home. But overseas, I guess, I've played in some crazy places. Las Vegas is bizarre. It's party central there in Las Vegas. And all of us girls actually love Canada as well. Canada is quite like New Zealand, very rural, very home feeling. The people there are lovely, and the candy apples that they have there are unreal. They are what I go to Canada for. Obviously to play sevens, but the second reason is to get a candy apple because they are amazing. But yeah, the stadium there is small and condensed, but it obviously brings the crowd together, and the experience there is always amazing. So yeah, Canada is definitely another favorite. But another one is definitely Japan, mainly because of the food. The food is unreal. Teppanyaki, yakiniku, dumplings, ramen, you name it, like unreal. The best food that you can think of. And the people over there are incredible. They're so lovely. They'll literally do anything for you. As soon as they see like a silver fern or anything New Zealand related, they're like, oh my gosh, Kiwis, like we love rugby, we love All Blacks. Like they love rugby, they love the All Blacks in general, which they seem to think we're All Blacks as well, but that's fine, they're learning. But we love going to Japan and being able to play in front of their fans. Yeah,
That's brilliant.
As someone who also used to live in Canada, I can qualify that the candy apples are very good.
yes.
But my question is, what do you find like the standard of refereeing at in the World Seven Series, and do you work with referees in training to get all your laws correct and make sure you're more disciplined on field?
I have to be careful with this answer. It's not consistent all the time, but in saying that, the referee, if we don't have a referee, we don't have a game. And so we have to be obviously extremely grateful for what the referees do on our World Series tournaments to make sure that we actually have tournaments. And there are some quality referees here that ref women's games. Classic example is Sarah Cox. Oh my God, she's by far one of my favorite refs. She refereed our final at the Olympics. She refereed our final at the World Cup in 2018, and she's honestly just always so consistent. And I believe I just saw that she is going to be the first female to ref like a test match, or
she just did her first Premiership game in England. So it was Quins versus Worcester, I think. So first.
Men's Premiership, yeah.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, no, she absolutely deserves that recognition. She's definitely my favorite. I can't really say that a New Zealand ref is our favorite because we don't get New Zealand refs, but obviously Salika Winiata is coming through the ranks. She's the short fit one that just runs around everyone and forgets that she's a ref and not a player. So rude of her. But yeah, she actually came to a couple of our trainings before we left the country, before the Olympics. And she just helped us out in areas that were, I guess, still learning areas of the women's game. So the breakdown area with, there's a couple new rules coming in about being 1 meter away from the ruck. There's other rules about something to do with putting the ball over the try line if it's not your try line and it's a 22-meter dropout or a 5-meter scrum. Like, it's just all these new rules that are coming in to 7s and 15s, and just making sure that we have that consistency of which is which rule is for us. The accidental offside is a massive one as well. So yeah, we're just, the areas that a lot of teams kind of don't fully understand because they're still so new. So she came in and helped us out with that. So that was brilliant. That was just what we needed before leaving the country. So going into the Olympic Games, we could almost take the ref out of the game. That's kind of like what we try to do, because as soon as you get the ref involved too much, it just kind of stops your game plan. It stops the flow of the game and the momentum of it. So as long as we keep the ref out as much as possible, then we can have control of the game ourselves, which is quite crucial in 7s, because just like that and it's finished. So as much as obviously, as long as we can have control of the game, we can then make sure that the scoreboard goes our way, or I guess not get too antsy at the ref, because as soon as you have some sort of barking back, that's when the ref kind of pins you a little bit more. So the more she's out, then the more control that we have. Yeah.
Grand, thank you.
I just knew Simeon was going to ask a referee question. He does this at every guest. Because he's a referee, so he tries to sneak them in there.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. That's why.
Gotta get a bit of it in.
I've got a hard one for you though. It's just a little bit of fun, but out of everything you've achieved, so winning the Women's Sevens World Cup, Commonwealth, Olympics, World Player of the Year, if you could only pick one, what would it be?
Oh gosh, I got asked this actually a couple of weeks ago. Definitely favorite team one would have to be the Olympics. You look back on, I guess, the story of us leading into the Tokyo Olympics. Obviously, Rio was disappointing for the girls. We've been so successful over the last 9 years, and we did not have the one thing that we set out to do from the very beginning of our campaign in 2012. So to finally have that in the cabinet is one that we're definitely very proud of. Another favourite would have to be Com Games in 2018. If you knew the full story of our lead up into that tournament, you would be extremely surprised that we even turned up. We had Ruby Tui with the mumps, so she caused our team to be isolated away from the Commonwealth Games village. Then we eventually got to the village, but we weren't allowed in because apparently all of us were contaminated with the mumps. So, you think of COVID, we'd done all of that. We did the whole self-isolation. Some of us had to get booster injections because we weren't immune to the mumps. We did all of that at the Com Games, and then we had to stay at completely different apartments to the rest of the athletes. And then we had injuries leading up to our final. Tyler hurt her neck in the warm-up of the final, so she missed out on the final. I split my head in the warm-up as well, so I didn't warm up. I had to get some real rough, very average stitches quickly shoved into my head, and then I ran to the stadium because my team was already at the stadium ready to play, ran into the changing room like, I'm here, guys, please don't leave without me. Everyone was cheering like, yeah, okay, we got a team. And then our 13th player, who did fitness that morning, had to come into our team because obviously Tyler was injured to make up numbers. So she just waltzed into the changing room in her casual training gear, had to quickly give her a jersey to make sure that we had 5 subs on the field. So yeah, honestly, it was a crazy journey, but we got there and we won in the end in extra time against Australia in Australia, which was even better. Like, we respect them heaps, but to beat them at home was just one of the greatest feelings ever, just to put it nicely. And then I guess like my favorite individual one, like, I'm not one that sets out a goal to win those individual accolades because it's a team sport. We're there to win World Cup, Com Games and Olympic Games and World Series tournaments. That's our sole goals when it comes to our seasons. All those individual ones are just massive bonuses and just represents how hard our team works, and I guess the talent that we have here in New Zealand as well. But yeah, all of them are my favorite in some way, shape or form, but those team ones, I look at the medals and the trophies that we have, and it just it makes you very, very proud to be a Black Ferns Sevens player. It makes me feel like that anyway.
Yeah, that's a safe answer. I'll let you off on that. It is
Thank
nice.
you.
Just the way you described that Commonwealth build up, I'd watch that on Netflix. That's a Netflix documentary waiting to happen.
It
Just
is.
saying.
I 100% agree with you.
Just saying. You could even have it like the weird trend on TikTok, like whoever scored the winning try, it dots down in Netflix original series. There we go. I'm just money making idea now. There we go.
You direct it, bro, and we'll get involved. That's for sure.
There we go. Sorted. Netflix, if you're listening. Sean, do you have any other questions for Michaela?
Yeah, firstly, what you were saying there, Michaela, on the whole mumps thing or whatever in the Commonwealth Games, it sounds like COVID was just deja vu for you there.
Yeah. Everyone was all like, "Oh my god, COVID, like self-isolation, can't do that." We're like, "We've done it. It's all good. We're used to it." So I think it was like maybe the universe telling us something to prepare for something even bigger. I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe.
But my question is, so obviously the demands of sevens are a lot different to the demands of 15s. Would you mind briefly describing a typical training week if you're in camp for New Zealand sevens, please?
So we're obviously all fully centralized in Tauranga, Mount Maunganui, which is a beautiful city in the North Island of New Zealand. So a usual training week will have field and gym on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday off, field and gym on Friday, and then depending on what we're leading up to, so if we're leading into or a couple of weeks out from a tournament, we might do a training on the Saturday as well. If we're a few weeks out, like a month or two out from tournaments, then we won't train on Saturday. So all in all, it's roughly about 5 to 6 field sessions and 3 gym sessions a week. And then on top of that, we might have the odd meeting in between that. So we've obviously got nutritionists, trainers, physios, psychiatrists. So all of those little things kind of fill our day as well. And then our day off is usually consisted of our personal development background. So obviously rugby isn't forever. So we're obviously encouraged to do some sort of studying, some sort of work experience. So our days off are usually used to have some time away and do some study or go get some work experience. And so come the time when we have to hang the boots up, we're sorted for plan B, because that's just as important as playing rugby itself. So yeah, that's usually what our week looks like. So it's not extremely big. It's definitely quite cruisy compared to other teams. 15s trainings are much longer. But yeah, we've got a pretty well balanced week when it comes to training and our life balance as well.
Yeah. Just as a quick follow-up question to that, would your typical training day be like 9 to 5 typically, or like would you be in the training center from 9 in the morning till 5 in the evening, or does it vary?
No, not really. It might be more like 9 till 3. Lucky rugby players get massages every now and then. So if it is a 9 till 5, it's because you've got the late massage slot. So otherwise, we're usually finished by 3:30, the absolute latest. Although if we do have a day where we have 3 training sessions in one day, so that's usually what we will do to prepare for a tournament. So we'll play a game against each other at like 9:30, then maybe like 12, and then again at 3. So that's quite a big day for us. And that might happen on a Tuesday and a Wednesday. So that's usually about an 8 till 5-ish kind of day. But we've got lots of break in between our training games against each other. So we'll play, and then we usually have about 2 hours break. So plenty of time to get some food in and maybe like a quick nap. So it may sound big, but it's just a long day. We're just training hard. But yeah, it's lots of rest in between, which is nice.
I'm sure it's more exhausting more than anything.
Yeah, to other people it probably sounds extremely exhausting, but to us it's just another day in the office.
All right, fair enough. Same here.
I'm Grand. Murray, do you want to crack on with the fan questions?
I've got a few more before we get into the fan questions, but I just got really excited, so I started just jotting down tons of questions. You've kind of dabbled on it a little bit, but I just want to ask, what is your personal goals for the upcoming season?
I always, well, obviously with COVID, things are much, much different. But usually my number one goal for every season is to just make every World Series tournament team. If I'm selected and then, in the team to travel overseas, then everything else just kind of flows from there. I don't really like to overcomplicate things. I keep it as simple as possible, because otherwise I get overwhelmed. I get, extremely anxious, overthink everything. So yeah, simplicity is something that I really, really need when it comes to my goal setting. But I guess for me, like I just really strive to be the best trainer and the best rugby player that I can be. And I just have to make sure that I've got everything in place for me to do that. So eating well, sleeping well, having that life balance of, getting those connections in with my friends and family, making sure that I've got plan B sorted. So plan B for me is the police. So making sure that I've got that sorted as well. But yeah, it's just making sure that I'm happy. If I'm happy, then then I'm playing good rugby and I'm training well. So that's usually just as simple as it gets. But yeah, obviously at the moment, long-term wise, definitely want to go to Paris 2024, but we've got Com Games and World Cup first before we can focus on that.
Yeah, of course. Also, I know that you're a winger for seven, and just don't try and burgle anything when Michaela's on police force, because you're getting caught. She will turn you over, handcuffed, done, next, you're in
No
jail.
one's running away.
I almost want them to run away so they can see that a chick can run fast. It'll be a great challenge.
Maybe give them like a 30-meter like head start and then just go.
Good. I want the challenge.
Sean, do you have any more for Michaela, or do I just keep going?
No, you keep rolling, Murray. Yeah, you answer all my questions.
You're too kind. Well, your personal goals were kind of motivational. Obviously, you're a forefront for women's rugby as well. Is there any one piece of advice you could give to young women wanting to get into rugby? What would you say to them?
Don't be afraid. Have a go. Rugby in this world is growing like crazy. The sevens teams and 15s teams are now starting to be recognised as full-time professional players. And especially here in New Zealand for women's sevens, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing, the pathways that are created for young women and young girls to play for their school or for their region. You've got central teams, you've got Māori teams. Like it's crazy how many teams that you can play for here in New Zealand, and it's only going to get bigger. So I guess the best piece of advice is just to not be afraid and have a go, because you just never know. You might absolutely love it. If you don't enjoy it, that's just how it is. You can't really force anyone to enjoy the sport. It can take some crazy people to play rugby. But yeah, it's just an incredible sport that just brings so many new friendships and relationships together, and you meet amazing people around the world. So it's an incredible sport that, I'm biased, but I think it's the best job in the world. It just brings you so many opportunities, and it's saved a lot of women's lives in our world, in our team especially, who have been picked up on the street to give rugby a go, and now they're full-time professional rugby players. So I can't express enough how important it is to have people understand that women's rugby is definitely something to consider as a day job. So yeah, just give it a go. But on top of that, nothing worth having comes easy. It is hard work. It does mean that you've got to do the early hours and the long shifts, the late nights. If you want to be a gold medalist Olympian, it takes a lot of hard work. But if you've got the determination and the motivation and the commitment to do it, it's absolutely worth it. And you'll get the break at the end. It may take a little bit of fitness and gym work or extra ball skill set, but yeah, it's 100% worth it if you've got that goal in front of you and want to give it a go.
Yeah, fantastic. I can't add any more. We have got a few fan questions just to round off, but that's all my questions. I can't thank you enough for answering all those ones. So
No worries. They were great questions.
thank you. I'll try my best. Our first fan question is from Heno_rugby. What is it like to play and train for the Olympics, and how much did you have to actually give up to make it to Tokyo?
We actually went away for 2 months leading into the Olympic Games. We did some training in Australia for about 4 weeks, played a tournament there against Australia and Fiji and Oceania. So we had some good preparation going into the Olympic Games, and obviously had some heat climatation, which was nice, although Australia was still nowhere near as hot as Japan. But we just kind of added in some sauna sessions or trained with some sweatshirts and jackets on just to kind of get used to being hot. So then when we went to Japan and played and trained in Japan, it wasn't like a slap in the face. It wasn't foreign to us. We were prepared in some way to, I guess, get our bodies and our mind adapted to being under that sort of stress. So that was very important leading into the Tokyo Olympics, obviously for every single athlete. It wasn't just us. It was for everyone who was competing at the Tokyo Olympics. But yeah, we had to kind of obviously just switch training up a notch a little bit. Things gets a little bit savage when you're having to select your team for the Olympic Games. So our coaches had a very, very hard job to select 13 players to represent our family. And when it comes to that point of selection, when it's that time of the year, you kind of turn into a little bit of tunnel vision, and you've got to be selfish. You've got to really put yourself first. Obviously team first in our environment, but you've obviously got to prepare yourself individually to make sure that you've got your best foot forward to be selected. Otherwise, if you continue putting other people first, then you kind of get left behind. So it is a cruel world sometimes, but that's part of the job. That's what we do when we sign the dotted line to say that we want to be Black Ferns Sevens players. So yeah, that it is savage. It's very selfish, but that's high performance sport for you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, even like we could all vouch for it. Even like team selection for a Saturday, regardless if you're best friends with someone, no, I'm starting, not you. Sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's literally just like that. You know, we obviously call ourselves a team of sisters, and we are teammates, but at the same time we're competing against each other, and we got to remember that sometimes. So it is hard, but we still love each other, we respect each other, and we support each other massively. And if you've got an environment like that when you do or don't get selected, then it's quite healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always nice to, regardless of selection, you always get well done or commiserations, you'll get there next time, sort of thing.
Absolutely.
Last fan question. Lads, would you like to guess who it's from?
Is it Kyle?
It is Kyle, yes.
Oh, what a surprise.
Just to fill you in, Michaela, Rugby Kyle is a big supporter of us. He's a great lad. He's kind of like one of the unofficial members of Rugby Connection. He shares all our stuff. He asks a lot of great questions. I can actually say it because your interview will be out after. He's actually filling in for one of us on the show as well. So,
cool.
It's Sean. Yeah, he's filling in for Sean. So he's
asked.
asked.
Cool. Let's hear the question. You've built it up now, so it's probably a very, very good question.
It's just a simple question. This one: favorite sports person ever for you? Who's your favorite sports person ever?
Oh wow. Oh my gosh, I have a few. I think Lisa Carrington is just incredible. So Lisa Carrington was one of our kayakers at the Olympics who won, she's won 5 gold medals. She won 3 maybe in Tokyo just recently. She's just an incredible athlete, just epitomizes what it means to work hard in your sport, and has just really put female athletes on the map. You know, she is our most decorated Olympian here in New Zealand, and she's female. So that's something to be extremely proud of. I actually have only very, very briefly met her once. I was actually drunk, so I can't really say we're friends. but deep down, I think she still I think we're friends, just really, really deep down. But yeah, she's just an amazing athlete, an amazing person. So she's definitely one that I look up to. But yeah, and I guess like growing up, like being a rugby mad family, as you guys probably were as well, you just look up to your national team. So loved watching the All Blacks with my family. We were that typical family that put in $2 to see who got the first try scorer, and whoever's player got the first try won all that money. Like we were that typical family that literally just blocked out that time of our day to watch the All Blacks play. So yeah, very, very mad rugby fan. So always loved watching Dan Carter, Richie McCaw, Bodie Barrett being, a proud Naki man. Always loved watching your national team compete. But I was also that typical child that loved, I guess, telling everyone that my mum played for the Black Ferns. Like I was that person that just was so proud of it and would gloat about it all the time and always wanted to be like my mum. So yeah, she was one that I looked up to as well.
That's fair. All great answers. I like the fact that your mum actually played for the Black Ferns as well, so she could have gave you like some insight when you were coming through the ranks as well. So I quite like that.
Yeah, she only played one game and then she decided that she wanted to have my older brother. So, I mean, thank you to my brother for putting her rugby career on hold. But yeah, she only got the one game in. But yeah, she would always express how much she loved the environment. Like rugby is just one of those sports, and you guys will know this as well. The connections and the friendships that you make in rugby is just second to none. It's a whole nother family. So yeah, she always expressed how much she loved the environment and the people that she met, and the people that she met, she's still very, very good friends with today. And the last game of rugby she played was 30 years ago. And she still is friends with those people today. So yeah, rugby just really opens up your world to incredible people who you pretty much have friendships for life. So yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, well said. I can't agree anymore. There's a group of lads at the club I'm at. We played together at under 14. We all drifted apart, went to different clubs, and 7 of us are now playing senior rugby together. It's weird how it brings you all in together, and yeah. It's a bit weird to think about at times because like I think 4 of the 7 are now parents, so it's a bit weird as well. But yeah, it's like you said, it brings people together. It's a different kind of bond. Like you have your friends, you have your family, you have your rugby family.
Yeah, absolutely. And then it brings you together in the club rooms as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%.
That's half the reason why most of us play rugby, isn't it? It's because of the aftermatch.
Obvious. I thought that's the only reason you're meant to play rugby.
And free food.
Absolutely.
And free food, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's all the questions we've got, and for the followers as well. Thank you so much, Michaela, for coming on and just blathering to us. It's been great.
No worries, guys. Thanks for staying up this late for me. You guys woke me up early, and so you guys had to stay up late for me. So, no, I appreciate that. I really enjoyed the questions and really loved the chat. So, yeah, your podcast is awesome. So thank you so much for continuing to put rugby on the map for us. It's awesome.
Oh, thank you for the kind words. Just for our fans and watchers of the show, where can we find you, like, to keep track of your career and life?
I have Instagram, so my Instagram handle is literally just my name with no space in between the first and last name, so Michaela Blyde. I have Facebook, but I'm not really active on it. Instagram is definitely the big one for me. But yeah, obviously we've also got a Black Ferns Instagram page as well, so everything Black Ferns 15s and 7s is on that Instagram page as well. So yeah, there's lots of things coming up. Obviously there's test matches for that, I think it's called Fast 4 for women's rugby, so that's coming up as well for the Black Ferns girls that I think they compete maybe next month, so that's really exciting as well. So yeah, keep an eye out for the Instagram, and hopefully it's on TV as well around the world, so yeah, keep an eye out for that.
Oh, fingers crossed. And just to say, you are welcome back anytime. And who knows, maybe next time we'll get up early just to do you a favour. So.
Yeah. And then obviously if we do go ahead with the Com Games and we end up getting some crowds in Birmingham, yell out. And I can guarantee you that my family won't be there because they don't like traveling, so I'm sure I'll have some tickets or something. So yeah, give me a buzz and we can catch up and hopefully get you guys some tickets for the Com Games.
Oh, that'll be incredible. Yeah, definitely keep in touch throughout the season, and obviously best of luck. Enjoy your time off. And
thank you so much.
I'll keep saying it till it gets annoying. Just thank you, just because.
No, it's my pleasure. Thank you, guys. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. This has been Rugby Connection Podcast Interview Thursday with Michaela Blyde. Thanks for watching.